Hey everyone, I'm Nick Goche and I'm the head combat choreographer for this project. And today I just wanted to make a quick video talking about the do's and don'ts of a fight scene and a little bit of what I'll be expecting from the actors. So this is mostly directed at the actors. So yeah, we're just going to start right off with the do's and don'ts. First, we're going to start off with the do's. So the first thing that I want to go over is we want to have really good pace. If we don't get the other two things that I'm going to talk about for the do's, pace is the number one thing that I want. You'll see in a lot of good fight scenes, so what I'm specifically referencing is the John Wick movies or the Bourne Identity movies. Either of those have incredibly good fight scenes, and something that you'll see that they both have in common is that they are on top. They are never stopping. They keep fighting, keep fighting, keep fighting. Moves are always being thrown and there's incredible speed. So what we're going to work on when we're focusing on pace is making it to where the audience can comprehend what's happening, so it's not a bunch of jump cuts and just boom, 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 and chaos and confusion. So we don't want to go too fast, but we're not going to make it too slow, showing hesitation to where the audience can perceive what is going to happen. So we want to kind of keep them in a spot where they can understand what's happening, but they won't be able to see what's in the future. So making sure that our pace is perfect, so it doesn't look artificial with hesitation, and that it doesn't look too chaotic and fast if we're moving too fast. So if we can get the pace perfect, which we're going to really focus on when we start choreography days, that'd be awesome. So the second thing that I want to go over is motivation. And this is a really good thing for actors to think about, whether you're playing a lead like Dom or even if you're an extra like the Black Mask people. Everyone has a story to tell, so if you're an extra, your story's not being told yet. But if you're lead, you have a lot of stuff in the script and you have a lot of stuff in the last episode that you can go over and study. So a little bit of a story. When I first started working on this project, before I was even the choreographer, I was originally hired as one of the extras. And as I was kind of looking at my character's name, I noticed his name was Caesar Crew Leader. And so, I was asking the writer a little bit more about what that meant. She was like, well, you're the head of the team that fights. And so, with that little information, I think it's actually kind of fun for actors because now we can take the creative liberty to start to build a story and really grow in what our characters are. So what I started to do was I thought of, well, he's the team leader. So he has the responsibility of upholding a higher position. He has the responsibility of taking care of his crew because he has people that works for him at that point. So I'm not only responsible for myself and my responsibility, but I'm responsible for my crew. And I'm a part of an organization. So I have 3 things to motivate my fighting. And so another good thing to look at is, what does my opponent want? So I started reading what the Shadow Group wanted, which the Shadow Group was our opponents. I started reading on what they wanted. And, they wanted to take down the Somnium, which was our way of leaving the world and our relief and stuff like that. And they wanted to take down, our whole organization. So my lifestyle, pretty much, or my life being, or whatever you want to call it, they were trying to destroy me, essentially. So my motivation to fight them was much higher than it would be to fight someone randomly off the street. It's probably just knock them out. But with Dominique, my moves were more to hurt and destroy versus just knock somebody out. So, if you're a smaller role like a Black Mask, you still have a lot of stuff to go over and to think about for your motivation. And then, so if you're a higher character like Sue, Jai, Dominique, Emil, or people like that, you have a lot of stuff to read and to go off of. So really just kind of study what your character's motivation would be, and then how that affects your body language, so your eyes, how they're like looking, maybe if you ad-lib or say something while fighting, just things here and there that really add the extra like magic to your character. So we not only see that it's people fighting, but we see specific characters that the audience will gain an attraction to. So we'll start to see and develop wanting someone to win. So motivation is really good when doing fight scenes. So the third thing and the last thing for what makes a fight scene is power. So I teach at a martial arts academy, and something that I see a lot of my students do sometimes is when they lack power, I'll tell them to completely stop. Because when I say lacking power and forms, because side note, forms are like a simulated fight, so it's essentially fight choreography within itself. But when they do it, if they're not throwing their blocks, if they're not throwing their punches or kicks or anything like that with a lot of power, it looks fake. Like, I'm not actually able to see an imaginary opponent there. So I just tell them to completely stop, because when you're throwing all of your moves, and this is for our fight scenes, when you're throwing your moves with complete power, it looks real. It doesn't look like it's choreographed or artificial. It looks real. So now we can make that connection with the audience to immerse them in the world that we're creating. And so it adds a lot of pressure and it draws them in. So when we have power, motivation, and pace, when we have all those three things together, that's really what's going to make the fight scene seem real. And as you'll see when you guys start training with me and stuff like that, we'll have a lot of fun with it, but we'll focus on really feeling what your character wants, what the moves are, the pace, and we'll just kind of tie all that together. And so it's actually going to be a really cool process, and I'm so excited to work with y'all. So now we're going to move on to what breaks a fight. So this is the things that we don't want to do. All right. So the first thing I have for what breaks a fight is lack of power. Notice how we just talked about what makes a fight scene is having a lot of power, and what breaks a fight scene is not having a lot of power. If your moves are slow and just kind of sloppy and they're not felt and they're not real, it's immediately going to tell the audience that this isn't real and that this is a choreographed thing, and it's going to drop the magic completely. So we need to have a lot of power and purpose behind our punches. So yeah, we need a lot of power with that. So the second thing that I want to go on to is lack of reaction. So this also ties in with motivation. So when I first started doing combat choreography, I noticed when I was taking my sample videos and rewatching them that all the moves were good. We had pace, but we didn't have motivation. We had power, but we had power and pace, but we lacked motivation. And so it just felt awkward watching it. So what I say by reaction is that grunts, growls, maybe yelling, or like I was saying earlier, like ad-libbing when you're throwing moves and stuff like that, it's really going to add the extra magic to the fight scene because it shows a uniqueness in every single character. So I don't know if everyone is able to see the first fight scene that we did, the rough cut, but if you do, you'll notice how a lot of the actors are making grunt sounds when they're hurting or when they're hitting or anything like that, and it just adds the feeling for the audience that us as characters are feeling something. So we need a lot of reaction to that, and reaction can go all the way from eyes, whether you're squinting or whether you're having them open, just a lot of reaction, your body language, so the gravity, whether it's in your shoulders, your neck, or chest or anything. So it's a lot of stuff to focus on and to study, but once we get it done, it's going to turn out amazing. All right, another thing that I wanted to talk about is hesitation. Hesitation and awkward timing. Those two are very, very bad things, because when I was looking at fight scenes that didn't work, it led me to a video of one of the very first fight scenes in a Star Trek film. I don't know if any of y'all have saw it, but it's like the really old Star Trek. But the fight scene was just very awkwardly timed. Like, ducks were just weird, punches were weird. A lot of it was just, the timing wasn't right and there was a lot of hesitation. But you'll notice with good movies, so like I was talking about John Wick and Born Identity and stuff like that, you'll see in those that those characters keep fighting until they're in the clear. A specific scene is when John Wick was fighting in the club or in his house. He didn't stop fighting or shooting until everyone was out of his way and until he was good. It's going to be exhausting, but it's really going to pay off when we look at it in the big in the bigger picture of it. So making sure that we're fighting with all of our power, motivation, attention, and having all that stuff behind it while having the right timing is really going to make it. So yeah, just going over what makes it. So we got pace, motivation, and power. Those three things are what we need. And the things that we don't need to be doing is we don't need to lack power, we don't need to hesitate, and we don't need to have awkward timing. Another thing, I don't know if I put, reaction. So I was talking about reactions and dropping shoulders and kind of all that stuff like that. So we don't want to lack reaction either. So if we can have all those things and avoid some of the other things that I talked about towards the end, we're actually going to have a really, really good fight scene set up. And I think, yeah, I kind of counted and tallied how many fights we had, and we had a total of 5. So we got a lot of fights this time, but I'm so excited to work with every one of you guys. A little note for prep, right now, before we're getting started in choreography season and stuff like that, go ahead and try to fit in like about 5 minutes of your day. Just start stretching. Just do a few toe touches, go on the floor, let one leg out, try to touch your toes, and vice versa. Do butterfly stretch, stuff like that. Just do a few stretches to start to build your flexibility, because I want to incorporate a lot of high kicks, a lot of cool moves. I know for a few characters, Tay specifically, we're going to have a shoulder throw, so working on upper body strength and stuff like that. So just start to get yourself in shape for the stuff that we're going to start doing, because I don't know, I feel really good about this episode, and so I'm going to try to make it as special as possible. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I look forward to working with each and every one of you. So yeah, have an awesome day.